Yes, okay, sure. So welcome to the second session. I'm Rashesh Kumar Gupta. Okay, fine. So what we're going to discuss today, as we discussed, we'll discuss starting with something related to the foreign policy. Then we'll move on to India and China, and we'll keep touching India, China. I think till the rest of our series, till the rest of our international affairs, because India, China is such a global player, isn't it? Whether you talk about WHO, whether you talk about United Nations, whether you talk about US, India, US relationship, China is going to come in. When we're going to talk about India, Russia relationship, small China portion will come in. So we have to keep talking about China because China is the global disruptor, right? And keep in mind, keep a copy and pen in mind. There will be a lot of words I'll be saying which will not be there in the PPT. And in the international affairs, what you have to keep in mind, the keywords. Make a list of the keywords. Make a list of the keywords. Please make a list of the keywords, right? So, for example, in the last session also, we have discussed a lots and lots of the keywords. This session also, a lot of keywords are gonna come in, right? So, for example, first one is global disruptor, that is China. Very small keyword, but a keyword. What does this keyword basically means? If you have seen any press release of international affairs, for example, our foreign minister goes to any other country or anyone comes into India or Mr. Modi delivers a speech in Shangri-La dialogue, for example. What is Shangri-La? That is your homework. Please write down your homework as well. Shangri-La dialogue. If you are preparing for prelims, these things must be known. Shangri-La dialogue. Okay. Second is, okay, this one is fine. Shangri-La dialogue. So Prime Minister Modi's speech in Shangri-La dialogue is very, very important. I will discuss 2 to 3 points from his speech today. Okay. Yes, Singapore based. Very good. So what is the Indian version of it? Please tell me that as well. Shangri-La dialogue's Indian version. Okay. So keep in mind these keywords. Everything cannot be in the PPT. You have to keep a notebook with you and you have to write down some things as well. Okay. So please do as well. Yes, Raisina. Very good, Jyoti Prakash. So first, very quickly, let's recap what we have done in the last session. We started with the discussion on Indian foreign policy. We talked about the era of optimistic non-alignment. We were very optimistic. Nehru was very optimistic and he wanted to remain non-aligned to the world. Right in 1962, when with the China war, the dream shattered basically. India realized that these are only rhetorics. They're not gaining anything strategic in return. So this is not going to work. Okay. Now I'm going to put down the chat box and we're going to. Then this era of optimistic non-alignment, India did something really good. For example, when the world history will be reading the Korean War, there also India played a very good role as a arbiter between the conflicting parties. So very good role we have played in the starting years internationally, because Nehru was an internationalist mindset. He has internationalist mindset means this national border, this nationalism, these things do not matter. We need to coordinate with each other globally. He was very optimistic about this United Nations as well. That is why he believed that United Nations can come up with a just solution to this Kashmir problem as well, right? Then the decade of realism and recovery. Then we realized Lal Bahadur Shastri came, Indira Gandhi came. Then we were facing a lot of problems. Or no. Then comes the phase of the regional assertion, the time of the Indira Gandhi. And whenever you see, whenever the such big leaders come, whether it be Indira Gandhi or now Narendra Modi, connected. So one article says that Narendra Modi, Mr. Modi, is not the continuation of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. No, he is not. He is the continuation of Indira Gandhi. He is Indira Gandhi 2.0 rather than Atal Bihari Vajpayee 2.0. Getting my point? So it's not BJP Congress. We're discussing in the arena of foreign policy. Then the nation is one. So the Modi's policy, and a very strong leader comes into the government. Because when the Atal Bihari Vajpayee came into government, he was in the coalition government. Modi is also in coalition government, but his party has the majority itself. Acha, whatever you can understand, please put into the comment box, because I'll be giving a lot of reference to polity, governance, and these things. This will give you an opportunity actually. See, if you are not able to get it, just seize this as an opportunity to learn a lot of stuff at a very less time. So the phase of the regional assertion. Currently, we are facing a lot of challenge with our neighborhood. We will all discuss it. Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan to hai hai, right? And the same problem happened during the times of the Indira Gandhi as well. Then Rajiv Gandhi, 1987, the IPKF misadventure that we have read. Then we talk about the quest for the strategic autonomy after 1991. Then our quest to be a, or we became a balancing power, or it is said that we became a swing power. Okay, fine. So go with this balancing power, or it is also known as the swing state. Or, yeah, it is also known as the swing state. What is swing state? Basically, India as a swing state, India as a balancing power. For example, what is a swing state? Basically, swing state is basically India if goes into one other country's orbit or become close to one country, that country becomes strong. So India basically एक pawn की तरह नहीं है. Pawn, it has a lot of significance. But India अगर इधर move कर गया, if India moves there, this party becomes strong. If India moves there, this party becomes strong. So India was a swing state, a balancing power. Everybody wants to remain in the good eyes of India. तभी देखो ना 1998 में we did the nuclear power bomb, but after 8 years India and US signed a nuclear deal, isn't it? That was the importance of the India, because India was shining India, emerging India. In the decades of 2000 we had a economic boom, isn't it? And all this is reflected in our foreign policy. Then from 2014 Mr. Modi came in and he decided no, foreign policy is my domain and I will travel a lot. I will put a lot of energy, a lot of diplomatic personal energy I will put into the international affairs, and he did it. Okay, so this was the evolution of Indian foreign policy. If any question, yes, I forgot to mention last time, the question can come in the essay as well. So that can be, and I'll discuss it again. Those who are in with essay batch, I will discuss it with you again. Yeah. So in the essay also very briefly, because there is a one essay theme, last essay theme, that is international affairs. So very briefly, I'll discuss some of the quotes, some of the points of Sanskrit slokas and all I will give for the international affair essay as well. If you attend all my sessions completely, I'm sure you will be able to attempt a very good international affair essay if any comes. On any topic of international affair, you will be able to attempt a wonderful essay, whether it be India, China, foreign policy or anything. Right. Okay. Now we're going to talk about, so we discussed the evolution. Next, we're going to talk about the Indian foreign policy continuity and change. For example, what type of question can be asked? First time, explained, the question can be asked on the evolution of foreign policy, more importantly in essay. Second point, the question can be asked. Can you write down the question? Please write down the question. That recently, or the past decade, you can say, or past 4 to 5 years, India has witnessed a qualitative shift in its foreign policy. India has witnessed a qualitative shift in its foreign policy. This type of question can be asked. So explain, elaborate, and then can come, okay, shift has come, then what are the challenges India is facing in the foreign policy, that we have discussed later on. But what is being asked, the continuity and the change. What are the things that are continuing from the past, and what are the things that are changing, or what are the things the qualitative shift has come? What are the qualitative shift has come in the foreign policy, that we have to discuss. Now imagine you have not started the international affairs session. This is the second session only. Now we're going to discuss about the foreign policy and the shift in it. So what I'm expecting or what I'm delivering, almost all the domains of foreign policy. That is why I was saying that you may not be able to get a lot of it. Starting with this one. So qualitative shift in the Indian foreign policy. First, in terms of the goal itself. What are the goals? So earlier our goals were non-alignment, right? Earlier our goals were कि नहीं, partnerships, we will avoid partnerships. No, this partnership thing is bad. No. So our strategic goals have changed a bit. What our strategic goals have become? Yes, now from non-alignment to that we have read in the last unit, issue-based convergence, issue-based partnerships. This is another keyword. This is in your Modi's Shangri-La speech, that yes to friendship, no to the alliances of containment. The alliances which are there to contain anyone, no to it. For example, give me an example of alliance. That is NATO. Again, your homework, what is NATO? So, if you are part of NATO, then you are expected to be a bit against this Russia, right? Because NATO was famed in the time of the Cold War against the USSR. So alliances of containment is not a good thing, India's perspective. Then please mute your mouth, please mute your mic. Someone who is speaking up, right? So next is strengthening of partnerships. Achieve the strategic autonomy. What is strategic autonomy? That we have discussed last time as well. That we will be autonomous in our decision. Whatever decisions we will take, that will be driven by our own self-interest, self-national interest, rather than any other criteria. US is saying so, we will not do it. Russia is saying so, we will not do it. If it is in our national interest, then only we will do it. So we have to enhance our strategic autonomy through strengthening of the partnerships. We have to strengthen our partnerships rather than the avoidance of the partnership. Getting my point? Very easy to understand. Then the role in the global arena that I have discussed actually before in this session itself. So second is the role in the global arena. So before we were seen as a balancing power, right? Swing state. Now we want to become a leading power. This is again a keyword, balancing power and a leading power. So from just 1 second, a lot of content is there, right? So balancing power of swing state to the leading power. Then from a decision taker to a decision maker. So we need place at the high tables. Again, keyword, write down, place at the high tables. तो जो टेबल पे बैठ के डिसीजन लेते हैं ना, बिग बिग टेबल्स दे यूज्ड टू मेक डिसीजन, these are the keyword metaphors. So this is what we want to achieve. Third, leading the world on the issues of global concern. What are these issues? Remember, make a list of the issues. This will help you immensely. The issues of the international concerns, such as climate change, such as cyber terrorism, cyber security, terrorism, then sustainable development goals, then pandemic, global health pandemic, and all these. So these are the issues of the global concerns. Write down the another keyword. These are called problems without passports. Write down problems without passports. Please make a list of it, and if possible could have sent to me as well, but that's not an issue. So these are called problems without passports. Okay. So these are called problems without passports. So we want to become a leading power on the issue of the global concern. Then our tools and tactics have also changed, not changed, evolved. Now we are changing our tools and tactics as well. For example, the institutionalization of the soft power. What does this mean? Soft power, last time we have briefly discussed. One student asked this question. Soft power is basically the power of to persuade the other. I've discussed it with example. To persuade the other. Now, democracy, soft power, India has it from so many years, but now we are institutionalizing it. What does this mean? Institutionalization means now we want to make use of this soft power. Very good example can be seen in the Africa, where people believe in our soft power. Central Asia is also very good place where our soft power is very good. Soft power plus hard power is equal to smart power. Soft power plus hard power. Soft power pe we will do one separate small 20-minute session, not an issue. So what are the pros of soft power? What are the cons of soft power? What are the issues with the soft power? So soft power plus hard power is equal to smart power. Okay. Then the dynamic engagement with the diaspora. If you have been following the news for the past 6 years, Modi ji engages with the Howdy Modi, right? So he goes on the foreign trips and he talks to the diaspora directly, which has not been seen in India previously. So we are engaging with the diaspora very dynamically, and we will discuss diaspora as a separate topic as well. Then we are expanding our strategic partnerships with many nations. We are expanding our domain. Then the regional strategies, neighborhood first. That is neighborhood first. Matlab, we will give priority to the neighbors, and within the neighbors, what we have done. So you see, right? Okay. So what we have done, let us see. So for example, India is like that, right? These are the ideas you have to use, and you have to make, yes, you have to make diagram in the IR. There will be 4 questions from GS, and you have to make at least 2 to 3 diagrams in the IR paper. These are the maps based diagram that you must draw, because that is very important. This is where you get an edge. So I'll explain you one example. So this is India and this Sri Lanka. So earlier, what was the Indian approach? India was basically considered neighbor as, so idea of the neighbor, that is not new. So neighbor means Atal Bihari Vajpayee said what? Atal Bihari Vajpayee said that we can choose our friends. Yes, we can choose our friends, but we cannot choose our neighbors. हम neighbor नहीं choose कर सकते. We can choose our friends, and that is why the neighbors are very very important. So earlier, the idea of the neighbor was confined to the continental neighbors. Understand this, continental neighbors. Okay, these are our neighbors. So उसका form क्या आया? SAARC only, right? So Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Maldives, this Pakistan, Afghanistan, China. These are the, in China is not part of SAARC. So these are our neighbors. But now, since 2014, what has changed? We have expanded the idea of the neighborhood. We have said, no, no, no. Now this Indian Ocean is also our neighbor. So every nation which is the part of the Indian Ocean, right? For example, some African island countries, Seychelles and all these countries, Madagascar, these are our neighbors. So what we have expanded that, we have said, no, not only the continental neighbors, but also the maritime neighbors. Getting my point? So not only the continental neighbors, but also the maritime neighbors. So we have expanded the idea of the neighborhood. Getting my point? So neighborhood, we have expanded the idea of the neighborhood. And this is what we have done. So this is neighborhood. So inclusion of the marine neighbors. Then Act East policy. Similarly, we have done for the Act East. We have discussed Act East in detail. We'll discuss the evolution of the Act East from Look East to Act East. We'll discuss. Then change policy towards Pakistan as well. Earlier, we have the policy that they used to do terrorism, and we used to respond. We used to say, okay, let's again go for the diplomatic efforts and all this. Now we have said no talks with terror. The talks and the terror cannot go together. We started to isolate Pakistan internationally and all this. And now we are pursuing the similar policy, or we have to pursue the similar policy with China. So you can include that point as well, that now China is also included there. So these are the qualitative shifts in the foreign policy. I know this is taking a bit of time, but let's do it slowly at this juncture. Then I'll go very fast. Okay. And all the doubts, please write down currently and then put into the chat box, so that you also put the doubt in, so that I can also include those stuff into the next sessions. Then we talk about continuity. So these are the things that have changed. Now we talk about what are the things that are almost the same. So that are almost the same, that are our objectives for foreign policy. We'll see. But continuity in the foreign policy can be seen, for example, neighborhoods our priority. The idea of the neighborhood has changed, but neighbors are still a priority. Then, so this is Gujarat Doctrine we have in 1996. So Gujarat Doctrine, the neighborhood first. The Atal Bihari Vajpayee said we can choose neighbors but not friends. Then the Asian cooperation, that the Asia should cooperate. So in 1950s, 1960s, Nehru talked about Asian solidarity. And Mr. Modi in the recent speech talked about, write this line. This line is very important, that the Asia of the rivalry will hold us back. Asia of the rivalry will hold us back. Sir, we should pen down the points now. Yes, these is the only slide you will get. So all these points you want to write, please do write. Otherwise, you may miss out on the few points. Basically, the points which are not present in the PPTs, you can write those points up. Because there is a lot of things which when I teach, then they come out of the mind, right? So right. So Asia of rivalry will hold us back, and the Asia of cooperation will shape the century. Okay. So this is what Mr. Modi said. Okay. Then the voice of the global south. We have become the voice of the global south. What about this south-south cooperation? We'll discuss about south-south cooperation. So what is basically south-south cooperation? Very quickly, I will discuss. So these are the idea that we have to actually discuss. Otherwise, it will create an issue. Just 1 second. I have to put yes, the blank. Okay. So what is basically the south-south cooperation? Very quickly. So for example, this is Tropic of Cancer, right? This is equator. I hope I'm drawing it right, like this. Then you have to South Asia. Then we have the Latin America as well. So South-South cooperation is basically these southern countries, which are what are the things that are common in these southern countries. For example, India is there, South Africa is there, South America is there, Brazil country, Brazil, Argentina. These countries are there, right? PPT available download. No, I think I have not uploaded it. So what I'll do before the session itself, I'll try to put the PPTs in. We are trying to make a group as well. We'll talk about it, right? So just manage with this session, then we'll figure out a way to discuss the things. Okay. Okay. So this is the south countries. Sorry, the map has gone very quickly. Let's do it. Okay. So these are the south countries that we're discussing: India, Brazil, sorry, South Africa, Brazil. Within the Africa, many countries are there, not only South Africa, Kenya, right? Namibia, in Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela. So there are a lot of countries which are like that. India, Indonesia. So a lot of South countries. So what are these countries common? What are the common things in it? Which are different from the North, global North, which is rich, developed countries, right? Rich developed countries. And these are the South cooperation. So we'll cooperate with each other to fight against what? Poverty, hunger, food security, all these common governance issues. For example, global health, all these things we will do. Okay. So this is the South cooperation. We'll discuss that again in detail. One of the forum for the South cooperation, you must have heard IPSA. How many have heard of IPSA? IPSA is a forum for the South cooperation, right? So let's go back to our discussion. Yeah, we're talking about the continuity in the foreign policy. So we continue to be the voice of the global South, and we raise the concerns at the various forums such as WTO, United Nations. So WTO, United Nations. People are joining in late. This is not done. WTO, United Nations, UNFCCC, that is climate change, United Nations reforms in the United Nations, and all these things. Then we go for the multipolar world order. We want world to be multipolar. There should be multiple poles in the world, right? We want that to happen. There should not be only one pole in the world. That is unipolar world. There should be multiple powers in the world. We want that. We want the global institutions to be democratic, rule based, and all these rhetorics are. Then finally, we voice up there and take actions on the issues of the global concern. Now imagine in 1950s, the global concern was 1950s, 1960s, global concern was different. Some global concerns have evolved. For example, after 2000, what are the global concerns from 1990s? Climate change. This is a global concern. Terrorism. After 1979, terrorism has become a global concern. So these are the global concerns of now, and those were the global concerns of before. Earlier, global concerns such as food security was a global concern. These diseases such as, very good example you can give, was smallpox. Okay, so smallpox is a very good example of the global concern which was there. So a lot of global concerns was there, which is not a global concern, right? So we voiced our concerns at that time also and this time also. So like this. Then very quickly, so what are the core objective of Indian foreign policy? For example, someone asks you in the interview, or someone asks you yours in the mains exam itself, what are the objectives of Indian foreign policy, right? So we know a lot about foreign policy, but what are the basic objectives? First objective, you can say, first thing, the very first thing of foreign policy objectives of anything any country, is the securing our national interest. What are the national interests? Even if you are a PSIR student, that is also they important. So securing our national interests, we have to secure our national interest. Now, national interest of every country will be different. For example, food security is our national interest, but it is not a national interest of USA, right? So we have to secure our national interest from our foreign policy. So we have to protect from both traditional and non-traditional threats. Protect from traditional as well as the non-traditional threats. What are the traditional threats? For example, the aggression from any country, Pakistan, China, aggression, wars that we have seen, traditional threats that are there, right? Non-traditional threats such as cross-border terrorism, food security, the disaster management, energy security, these are the non-traditional threats. Non-traditional means threat basically does not mean that koi aake maar raha hai, somebody is going to kill you, but also threats that means that disrupt our normal way of life. That is also a threat. That's how you expand the definition of the threat. So securing our national interest, our territorial integrity, counter terrorism, energy security, food security. Then second objective is create an external environment that could be the condition for then an all-inclusive domestic development, so that we can develop ourselves domestically. We have to create that external environment. What does this mean actually? So for example, we have to talk about this. We need inputs from the other countries, such as we need technology from USA, we need technology from Russia, we need technology from Israel, we need some sort of medical assistance from WHO, right? Monetary assistance from World Bank, IMF. So we have to develop that external environment. For example, if we want to get this nuclear fuel, uranium, if we want, so we want that these nuclear institutions such as NSG, MTCR, which are the big bodies, they should work in a democratic way. They should give the nuclear weapons to the countries which are deserving it, not to the Pakistans, those who have misused it, but to the countries like India that are using it for the peaceful purposes. So we need to create that external environment. Third, ensuring that the India's voice is heard in the global forum, making sure that when we speak, people listen, right? Especially on the problems of the global concern. You see here it is mentioned problems without passport. And finally, the diaspora, engaging with our diaspora, because diasporas are very critical component of Indian foreign policy at this juncture. Okay, so these are the core foreign policy objectives. So this is the end of the first section of the Indian foreign policy. Three things we have discussed: the changes, the continuity, and the core objectives of Indian foreign policy. Now, if you read any book, you will see the core objective. Koi kuch likh dega, someone will write something, but in essence, this is the 4 key objectives. Okay. Now let us start India, China. Okay, any doubts till now? Very quickly. Any doubts? I'll give a 2-minute break, 1-minute break. Any doubts, anyone? Have you understood? I can see the chat. So have you understood? Okay, clear, sir. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead. Understood? अच्छा लगा? समझ में आया? You got something new? Okay. So more on diaspora, please. Yes, diaspora हम discuss करेंगे. We'll discuss. I think Jyoti Prakash have not attended the last session as well. I've discussed something about diaspora. Diaspora is basically the people who are living outside, those who trace their origin to India. So whether be our student, for example, my child who goes out to study in US, he is also a diaspora. My great grandfather who has went to USA, or anyone else who is now the part of the USA, that is called the Indian American community, right? Indian American community, too much in news in the United States. Okay, so these are the diaspora. We'll discuss diaspora in detail, so don't worry about it. Okay, so let us start India and China. Okay, so India, China. Now in October 2019, we have this summit, that is informal summit. Dekho, Modi ji and Mr. Levin Jinping, they are discussing the papers, and Cozy or Modi ji also wear lungi and all, right? So after Wuhan, we had the second informal summit. they talked a lot of rhetorical बातें, बहुत ऐसी ऐसी बातें की, they talked about okay, the peaceful rise of India in China, we will cooperate with each other and all these things. Now cut back to May 2020, not even 1 year. Yeah, Chennai Connect, yes, the second informal summit, and only within the few months this happened. Now we don't talk to each other, हमारी दोस्ती टूट गई, right? So what happened? Border clashes, trade war, FDI scrutiny, from informal summits of rhetoric to this current juncture. Okay, so what type of question can be asked on India and China, right? I think I've just made, just 1 second. Yeah. So 4 type of questions you can expect on India and China. First is, for example, China and India. For example, how China is creating a problems for India at various levels. First thing is that you can write down type of questions that can be asked in India and China, specifically India China. The question can be asked also that how aggressive China is leading to India-Japan relation. But that question is on India and Japan, not on India and China. So first, how China is creating hurdles for India at different levels. Secondly, China and India partnership is a China and India partnership is a very dynamic and a very complex partnership. So what about that? That can be asked as well. So a very dynamic partnership, or no, sorry, dynamic, complex partnership. Third type of question that can be asked is China in India's neighbor. China कैसे India's के neighbor में include कर रहा है? How China is getting into India's neighbor, and how it is impacting India's foreign policy objectives that we have read. Getting my point? And lastly, how our policy needs to evolve at this juncture. So what policy we have adopted with China earlier, and what policy we need to adapt going forward. Getting my point? So these are the 4 ways in which India and China relation can be asked. I'm not here to teach you 1962 war. First of all, I would like to clarify. 1962 war, you can read in your maybe YouTube video, you'll understand 1962 war. This is international affair classes, right? That will be a part of the post-independence history. Otherwise, वही पढ़ाते रहेगा तो we won't be able to discuss the multi-dimensional perspective of India-China relationship. So let us go ahead. So let's start India-China relationship. कुछ पहले facts देख लेते हैं. Let us see some facts which can be helpful for exam. First of all, exam में facts लिखने हैं, you have to write some facts. And secondly, to understand the basically the relative weight of India and China as well. For example, China की economy का क्या strength है? Around $14 trillion, or you can write $13.5 trillion. And remember, you can quote facts like write this around $3.5 trillion. Nobody is going to ask you. But if you write China's GDP is around $5 trillion, then they're going to cut, obviously. But you can write, yes, $3.5 trillion is China's economy, and is compared to that, India's economy is around 2.9 or 2.7 trillion dollars. So you can compare around 1/5 of India's economy is India. First thing, right? You have to be very objective in the assessment. Then second fact, you need to know that import and export, because now the trade war is also there. Trade, boycotts, and all these things are there. So you have to write with the facts. So for example, 14% imports, our import basket, 14% comes from the China. So 14% of our imports are from China. And as far as the exports are concerned, so we export around 5% to the China. We export around right. So we export around 5% to China. So these are the small facts you need to remember. So 3 facts for 13.9, 13.5, 14 versus 2.9. Second fact, 14% import, 5% export. Okay, quickly facts on the तुरंत होने चाहिए, क्या बोलते हैं, फिंगर टिप्स पे होने चाहिए. Then we understand the Malacca dilemma. एक बार ये समझ जाएंगे इस डायग्राम से, then we will able to get a majority of the lecture. You see, this is China, right? China wants a lot of oil, क्योंकि चाइना के पास भी oil नहीं है like India. So China wants a lot of oil. Now the currently the oil comes from this area. The biggest oil यहाँ से आता है, Saudi का यहाँ से आता है. So these are the oil lanes. This is through oil comes. Now you can see China has to travel these such a long line, right? To travel, this is called China's current shipping route, oil lanes, and this is called Malacca dilemma of China. It takes a lot of time. China इतना बड़ा है, देखो यहाँ से यहाँ तक, but Shanghai तक पहुंचने में यहाँ से यहाँ तक it takes a lot of time to reach the oil lanes from there to here, isn't it? So that is known as the Malacca dilemma of China. Okay, right. Then what are the solutions for China? Let us see some solutions. And I think you understood the problem, right? Now let us see some solutions. What China is doing. Sorry. Yeah. So what China is doing to solve these problems? First solution is, let us यहाँ से oil आया and let us go from this Gwadar to Pakistan and take it from here. So from Kashgar to Gwadar. Gwadar is a port of the Pakistan. Very big port. So this is the port, and this is what China calls, what is this? China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Around $62 billion project. Infrastructure, ports, highways, huge project. $62 billion project from Kashgar to this Gwadar. So this is one of the solutions. What are the other solutions? What are the other solutions? They can take it from here. If they can cut this canal here, see here canal, and they can reduce it a bit. थोड़ा सा तो reduce हो जाएगा. They will reduce it a bit. And secondly, let's example, this is choked. Someone choked it. Then from where China will get the oil? So they need an alternative as well. So this is known as your homework, Kra Canal. Please do the homework, Kra Canal. And China is pushing for it. Kra Canal in the Thailand. Okay, so cutting this basically down. Okay, like a few more things that we can see. So first you can see one thing here, the dependence of the China on Pakistan. Why China needs Pakistan desperately to solve its Malacca dilemma. Getting my point? Okay. Now you see this Kashgar, this road passes through India's Jammu and Kashmir. India's Jammu and Kashmir is like that, right? And this part, India's claimed Jammu and Kashmir, or India's Jammu and Kashmir in the map. This passes through the which region? Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan. Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan, right? So this is the problem. So this is where India objects to it. Now CPEC, they have asked question twice, UPSC. So I don't think they'll ask question again. So this is Malacca dilemma. So these are the various dimensions to the Malacca dilemma. Now CPEC passes through this, so India has objection to it. But you know, for China, it is so important to solve its Malacca dilemma because everything is about money ultimately. Then we talk about the string of pearls. What is this string of pearls? So string of pearls, first of all, let us see oil shipping lanes. So oil shipping lanes we have seen. Oil shipping lanes. This is the oil shipping lane of China. China says that we want to create the infrastructure here in Sri Lanka, here in Bangladesh, here in Myanmar, here in Thailand, here in Cambodia. We want to create this infrastructure here in Gwadar, here in Malé, here in this Djibouti, right? We want to create all these things. We want to create such infrastructure, China says, so as to what they call it, secure their oil lanes. They say, no, we have to secure our oil lanes. This is what China says. But what it looks like, actually, if you see, this is known as a string of pearls. The small pearls, I have created it from red, but these are the pearls, and this is a string. You can connect it like this and connecting. So this is a string of pearls. Ek mala jaisa hai. You can see it, right? Okay. Then it is also, India sees it as a problem for its security. India says that it is a strategic encirclement of India. India को encircle कर रहे हैं. We are encircling India. देखो, from here we are encircling India. So it is known as the strategic encirclement of India. No. How can it happen? So this is what India says. So India again has to do something. India has to talk to Oman. India has to talk to, sorry, this is Yemen, this is Oman. India has to talk to Oman. India has to talk to other countries. So India is now securing some places so as to counter it. And this is what you learn in your current affairs prelims. So Dakkam port, for example, in Oman, right? Shanghai port in Singapore is there. In Singapore, Shanghai port is there. So Shanghai, we have taken Dakam, in Seychelles here, these places we are making some, this Agalega Island, Assumption Island, and this is where we are making our own infrastructure to counter this string of pulse. So these are the infrastructure we are making of our own to counter this string of pulse. So this is what a string of pulse is. So very basic two ideas. Now we come to topic very objectively. So the India facing challenges from China. Okay. So how many time you usually have the session? Can you just text me? What are the usual time of the session? 1 hour, 2 hours? I don't have a lot of idea. So that I'll manage according to it. Can you text me, please, in the chat box? Okay. So we're talking about the India facing challenges. Okay. So first challenge can be, now you write in a structure way. So India faces challenge with China, or the China challenges India in two ways, global and roughly 2 hours. Oh, it's a big one. For me, it's gonna be tough. I take almost 1 hour, because ultimately my energy also goes down. I will not be able to do justice with the topic as well if I try to run it very quickly. But still, let's see. Okay, so that the challenges faces India. So global challenges at global level, India and China, and at the regional level, and then India and the China at the neighborhood level, basically. So first at the global level. Okay, so global level, internationally, at the regional level, for example, you can say South Asia level, and third at the level of the neighbors. Okay, right. If we talk about the global level, so what can be the challenges to India in the global? Not try to understand, and you can write the points as well. Now, for example, the economic clout of China. China of the economic clout. Economy, we have read $3.5 trillion, 5 times of India. So the global clout of China is very, economic clout of China is very huge. Example, you can see WHO, how it manipulates WHO, how it has a very strong voice in the climate change negotiations. So why it creates challenge to the India at the global level? For example, India says something, and when the China says something, whose voice will be heard? China, because of the economic clout. Second, China is geopolitically very strong. So you can call it a geo-economic factor. You can call in international affairs, we call it everything. We added geo in front of it because of the international nature of the affairs. Geopolitical, because China is a UNSC permanent seat member. What can be the global issues? For example, China wants to internationalize this Kashmir issue. Pakistan की तो इतनी औकात नहीं है. Pakistan does not have this much power to internationalize this Kashmir issue. But when China does the meetings at UNSC, this internationalizes the Kashmir issue. At least it tries to, right? Third, China is the part of this group such as NSG, nuclear supplier group. So India wants to get into this group, but China is saying no, no, no. You cannot be the part of this group because China is a non-proliferation treaty recognized nuclear power. NPT has recognized China as a nuclear power, and India is not a NPT recognized nuclear power. What is NPT? Non-proliferation treaty. You can read it on your own. NPT. I may not be able to cover it because NPT, CTBT, बहुत हो जाएगा. If I'll find time, I'll definitely cover, but I cannot promise you. Then finally, distorting the global rule of governance. That means China distorts the global rule of governance. That is, very good example is South China Sea. South China Sea dispute. So in 2016, PCA, Permanent Court of Arbitration, has ruled that China has no claim to South China Sea. The China has not any claim to South China Sea. But China says, no, no, we will not listen to you. So China does not listen to the international democratic institutions, basically. It does not believe in the rule of law. Okay? And this is what the complaint against China people have. So PCA has said China claim over South China Sea is not legal, it is not valid, but China says no, no, this is not done. What is the South China Sea dispute? Maybe I'll cover later on. Okay, so if not, please make in your list what study about the South China Sea issue. So this is basically what China wants to do. It is wants to thwart India's rise in every possible way. So we have read India's objective is to emerge from a balancing power to a leading power. China does not want that. China क्यों चाहेगा? Why China wants its neighbor? Imagine why China wants its neighbor to rise? Obviously, China नहीं चाहेगा ना, within Asia, India should leave about the world. Then if we talk in the terms of the regional level, so we have talked about the global level, we talk about the regional level. So China uses Pakistan as pawn to keep the India tied down. What it does, so Pakistan को चाबी लगाता रहता है, it keeps Pakistan giving money, giving the tactical approval of whatever Pakistan does, whether it be the cross-border terrorism, whether it be anything, internationalization of Kashmir, for example. It does not restrict Pakistan, okay, have good relations with India. No, it does not do that. It says, no, Pakistan, go ahead and poke India every time. So India's energy every time is on the Pakistan, anti-Pakistan, anti-Pakistan, Pakistan, Pakistan. So it wants to tide India down. तो होता है ना कि India wants to go up. Imagine India has two legs. India wants to go up, and they have leg किसने पकड़ा है? Pakistan. Pakistan is already on the ground. Pakistan is a failed state, almost on the ground, but it is pulling India down, and it is helping with the China is helping it. Then the string of pearl strategy. Now I think you have discussed that in detail. String of pearl strategy, so you know about it. Third, the strategic involvement in India's neighborhood. Now, China's involvement in India's neighborhood is again a very concernful thing for India. So what China, we'll discuss that, especially with respect to Nepal and Pakistan. Basically, we'll discuss about these two. So it paves the way for the unipolar Asia. So what China wants are Asia which is unipolar. China wants an Asia which is unipolar in nature. Unipolar means, write this down. Write the keyword box India to South Asia, right? And make South Asia unipolar. Unipolar South Asia means which is the only pole China wants? Itself. No India rising. No India shining, no India rising. Okay? Okay. Now we'll discuss something about China and India's neighborhood. So first, what is the modus operandi? First, we'll discuss about, I think, Pakistan. Then we'll discuss about Nepal. Then we'll have a general discussion. Other points, for example, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Nepal, we'll discuss when we'll discuss the separate issues of these countries. First, talk about the Iron Brotherhood of China and Pakistan. Pakistan says, I think if you have heard of it, Pakistan says ki the relationship we have with China is sweeter than the honey, higher than the Himalayan peaks, and the as deep as the, I think, Indian Ocean, something like that. Ki samudra se bhi gehri, ocean se bhi, the deeper than the oceans, higher than the Himalayas, and this sweeter than the honey. This is the Iron Brotherhood of China and Pakistan. Iron Brotherhood also is a key term. Okay, keyword that you have to use. India, whenever the question on China Pakistan comes, use this keyword, key Iron Brotherhood of China and Pakistan. That's it. Now China wants something from Pakistan and Pakistan wants something from China. In the international affairs, whenever you look at a particular relationship, always see what one wants from the other. And if I ask you, when you're finished with the international affairs sessions, if I ask you what India wants from ASEAN, what ASEAN wants from you, you are able to give me at least four points from both the sides. This is, you'll realize that you have prepared for international relations very well. Okay, this is how you'll know about it. For example, what Pakistan wants from China and China wants from Pakistan. So for example, let us see, China does not look at the India through Pakistan prism. Rather, it employs the Pakistan as the proxy to contain China, as we have discussed. Now, one of the example is, we have discussed the internationalization of the Kashmir issue. The China saying that Article 370 is illegal, invalid. So intruding into this domestic affair, collaborating with Pakistan, speaking the same language that Pakistan is speaking, like that. So what India, China gives to the Pakistan and what Pakistan gives to the China. Let us see one by one. So what China, what Pakistan, let us see what China gives to Pakistan. So China calls Pakistan and its staunchest partner in the region, right? देखो ये सब keywords होते हैं. These are the keywords used by diplomats, and when you use these words in your answer, you will get extra marks, obviously. These are not rhetorics which the topper says don't write. These are not rhetorics. These are the keywords which are being used by the diplomats. So staunchest partner, and the Pakistan says that China is our all-weather friend. All-weather friend. India calls Russia its all-weather friend, right? So like that. So what China gives to Pakistan? Pehla, chalo. Let us see one by one. So what China gives to the Pakistan, globally helping them to internationalize Kashmir. So it is helping them to internationalize the Kashmir issue. Okay, obviously. So this is what Pakistan is super happy कि okay, okay, कश्मीर पे ही तो हमारी जिंदगी टिकी है. We are dependent on Kashmir. If no Kashmir, what is the existence of Pakistan? Then Pakistan is also happy because when China does it, so it creates an equivalence with India. We have discussed last time. 1971 war has distorted, has finished the India-Pakistan equivalence. That Pakistan कभी भारत के पास हो भी सकता है. That Pakistan can be ever equal to China. Never. So this having this Kashmir issue internationalized, it creates an illusion in the minds of the Pakistan, or at least perception in the terms of in the Pakistan and the whole world, that Pakistan and China, India are equal. Then obviously money to deta hi deta hai. That is all. Everything is all about $62 billion project. But everything is not rosy there. The news are coming that this is all debt money. And China asks for a very high percentage, 5 to 6% interest मांगता है. 5 to 6% interest on such a huge loan. But sweeter than the honey hai, so it's going on. And then it is said to be the new US of the Pakistan. Now this is a very good metaphor that is being used. What China is doing for the Pakistan now, that US did with the Pakistan previously, before 2000s, in 1979, from independence to 1970 or 80. Okay, can you please explain the equivalence with India again? So equivalence with India, we have discussed that Pakistan thinks that it is equal to India. India thinks no, we are way ahead than you. So खुद सोचो what Pakistan wants कि any situation we become equal. India wants no, dehyphenate. We are different. We are on the different league altogether. We are competing with China, and you are making us to stand at your level. Pakistan says what? Nuclear power, nuclear blackmail. Then this Kashmir issue. So this is what Pakistan seeks the new equivalence with India, which China says, which China helps it to do. Okay? Why China does not want India to rise to its level? China wants India to go to the level of Pakistan. But logical, it's very logical, isn't it? So China is the new USA of Pakistan. So what USA did to the Pakistan, it gave all the money and everything. Now it is being the turn of the China. US to Pakistan se naraz hai. US is not happy with Pakistan. Trump Baba said that we have wasted billions and billions of the dollars on Pakistan. And Pakistan has just looted us, billions and billions of the dollar, and Pakistan has looted us. Nothing else they have given us. So Trump is itself बहुत परेशान है. Right? Now we discuss what Pakistan gives to China very quickly. So the money I was talking about, this debt, what it will create a glorified colony of China, है ना? The glorified colony of China. Colony है, almost quasi colony है China की. Whatever China will say, Pakistan will say okay, fine. Because obviously they are in the so much debt. Then diversion from rising Indian challenge that we have discussed. Pakistan having a strong Pakistan or having an assertive Pakistan helps China to thwart the India's rise. Then ये important issue है, इसको समझना है. इसको मैं समझा तो नहीं पाऊंगा, but let us try to understand. So fourth point, let us understand first. CPEC, crown jewel of the BRI versus Malacca dilemma. So BRI I have not discussed. So I think BRI के लिए just one second. Both the problems I will discuss. Just give me a blank. I'll take a blank. Right. So for example, this is China, right? Not a very good map, but this is China. So one project is China's BRI, which was earlier called OROB, One Road, One Belt. Now it is called Belt and Road Initiative. We'll discuss BRI in detail, not in this session, but somewhere. I think in the next session, very quickly I'll discuss. So BRI, what China is doing? China is making a lot of infrastructure on the land as well and on the sea as well. So this is what China is doing. A lot of infrastructure, very basically. And one of the component of the BRI is CPEC. Yeah, Gwadar to Kashgar to Gwadar. So this is one of the crown jewel of the BRI, one of the very important projects of the BRI. This is called CPEC that we have discussed. So in that regard also, Pakistan is important to China as we have discussed. The second point is very important that we have discussed the Afghan problem. Now, Afghan problem you have to understand because it's a very tricky problem. So this is Pakistan, for example, and this is Afghanistan landlocked. For now, just understand that any solution to the Afghanistan problem, what is the problem in Afghanistan? Basically, there is one factor, Taliban, and there is government, right? And they want they don't talk to each other, and they want the settlement of the issue. That's it. Okay, Taliban is there, government is there, and they want the settlement of this issue. We'll discuss when we'll discuss Taliban. If you say, I'll discuss that in detail when we'll discuss India and Afghanistan relation. Now, whenever it is said, whatever the solution of Afghanistan is, Pakistan is very important. Without Pakistan, this problem cannot be solved. Why? Because Pakistan, it is called, enjoys a lot of strategic depth in Afghanistan. Right? Now, Afghanistan issue is such a big issue. It is an international issue. Imagine, it's an international issue. And the China wants to be an international global player. China wants to be an international global player. It is an international issue. Hai na? When it's international issue and China wants to be international issue, that means China wants to get involved in it. And how it will get involved with it? Through Pakistan. That's it. बहुत आसान है समझना. It's very easy to understand why Pakistan is very critical to China as far as this Afghan problem goes. So China wants to emerge as a global player. And in that regard, the China issue helps China. So this is what China and Pakistan dynamics are. There is one more issue. If you write that into examination, you will get wonderful marks because these are the issues the students will discuss. They will discuss 3 to 4 issues, not itne bhi nahi likh payenge if they don't have not specifically read about it. There is one more issue. Okay, have you heard of the Uyghur Muslims? How many of you have heard of it? Can you give me in the chat box? Have you heard of these Muslims? Tell me. I'll come back to the map to understand. Yes. Very quickly. This map there. Yes. Okay. So many students in the chat box. Turkish origin. Okay. Banlis community in China. Xinjiang. Very good. Ethnic cleansing. Very, very good. Very good. Very good. A lot of you know about it. So very quickly, I'll discuss. So, for example, in this this province of Xinjiang. In this province, Kashgar is in Xinjiang province, this province. Here, the problem of the Uyghur Muslim is there. Basically, they are the persecuted Muslims that are there in this city. Okay, so China has kept them into this detention camps, and they take forced labor from them. Now, incidentally, when the question was asked to Imran Khan in the interview, why you are speaking against the atrocity on the Muslims in Kashmir? You are speaking against the atrocity of the Muslim in Kashmir, but why you are not speaking on the atrocity of the Muslims in the Uyghur? Now, the Pakistan Prime Minister says that he does not know about the issue. So what it gives, basically, it gives China the upper hand over it, right? China then cannot be questioned by anyone, and has been questioned by USA and India like that. But if a Muslim country denies it, it gives China some free hand to do whatever they want. And this is also where China requires Pakistan, because Pakistan is a very important Muslim state. Why? Pakistan ka chotu sa hi to hai. Why Pakistan is very important to the Muslim world? Because it has a very huge military, very big military. Plus, it is only one of, I think, the only nuclear weapon state in the Muslim world. And that is why Pakistan is a very important voice in the Muslim world. Getting my point? These are very nuances, small nuances that you need to understand. So Pakistan is a nuclear power, very huge military, right? And if Pakistan says nothing to the China, then sab changa si. Okay, very quickly, let's go to the next topic. Yes, the next topic is India and Nepal. Now, before India and Nepal, we go to before I put this slide in, let us discuss that why, yes, why Nepal is going towards the China. Why Nepal is going towards China, or how China is intruding into this Nepal. So you have to divide all the topics into substructures, and this is what you must do. So there can be some push factors. Push factor means India push कर रहा है कि जाओ जाओ जाओ. India push नहीं कर रहा, but there are factors which are pushing Nepal away from India. There are some pull factors which are attracting Nepal towards China, and there are some shady strategic moves in from the Nepal itself. Nepal भी दिमाग लगा रहा है. Nepal also uses its brain. So you have to understand that into three strategic structural dimensions. So whenever you write answer Nepal, China, if the questions come, if you write in this structure, you get definitely 1 to 2 marks extra. So what can be the push factors? So push factors can be that India is not making Nepal happy. Nepal is unhappy with India because of many issues. Pull factor is China is giving something to Nepal, and strategic moves of Nepal means Nepal is thinking very from the brain itself, from the brain obviously. Nepal is also exercising its Kootaniti, right? So push factors. So perceived interference in the domestic affairs. So we will discuss about these factors in detail when we'll read about India-Nepal relationship. So perceived interference in the domestic affairs of Nepal. Then next is, so for example, very good example is the constitutional crisis of 2015 of Nepal. So Nepal made a constitution and India says, no, this constitution is not good because it is hurting the sentiments of some of the people in the Nepal. So India went for the blockade unofficially. Not officially, obviously, India will say, have we done the blockade? No. Foreign ministry says, no, we have not done that. Then India taking some unilateral steps. We will discuss about this detail. So what were the issue basically? If you have read the current affairs, what were the issue in Nepal and China, Nepal and India border issue? It originated from this only. So India built a road actually in the contested place where the Nepal said, at least you should have discussed with us, that you have not. So that is the problem is there. So Nepal says that wherever some issues are there, you are not consulting with us, at least consult with us. Kalapani issue, yes. They have made a road. You need to remember the name of the road as well. Then third, the slow pace of the project. You project, whatever projects India create, very slow, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, going on. Nepal, China delivers, India promises, China delivers. Write this keyword. India promises and China, write down, China delivers. Okay, so this is the problem. India is only promising the things, China is delivering very quickly everything. Then finally, the popular pressure. Now the youth in the Nepal also, India is a punching bag. You must have heard in the Nepal. For example, in India, whenever the election happens, everyone says anti-Pakistan. Modi ji says we don't have the nuclear weapon for Diwali. We will put the nuclear weapon in Pakistan. Rahul Gandhi also anti-Pakistan. So Pakistan is punching bag in India. When election happens in Pakistan, India is a punching bag in Pakistan. Imran Khan says no. When I'll come into power, I'll put India on the ground. Similarly, in Nepal as well. No political party says against China, but everyone says against India. So the anti-India rhetorics are very high in the times of election. So popular pressure is also there. So these are the push factors that moves in Nepal away from India and towards the China. Then what are the pull factors? Imagine pull factor kya hai? These things only. China says we have the money, come to us, come to the daddy, right? Checkbook diplomacy. These are the keywords. Checkbook might, checkbook diplomacy. Checkbook means everybody knows checkbook. So the money that they pour in the Nepal, and Nepal is a very poor state, very poor, poorer than India, poor, unemployment. So whenever they'll see the money, they'll go towards it, obviously. So they are the provider to the goods and services. Nepal, this China can be a good provider to the goods and services. They can put a lot of money in. They have a lot of money. We have discussed 5 times money than India, GDP than India. And solving the landlocked dilemma. What does this mean? You know, Nepal is a landlocked state. Nepal says that it is India locked because it is dependent on India. I hope you know, right? The map, if you, I could not put the map in. Okay, so you know India and this is Nepal, right? So Nepal is landlocked, and Nepal perception is Nepal is India locked. Because why? Because at this there is a very high Himalayas. So with China, it is very difficult to make some roads, but still China is trying to do so. Very tough, very a lot of capital intensive projects are there, but they are doing so. So now they have said, so China will solve its landlocked dilemma. Then addressing the socio-economic challenges of not China, of Nepal. And then ideological affinity. Because in the Nepal also communist parties are there and the China is also communist. So thoda ideological affinity is also there. So these are the reasons because of which Nepal, China, India, oh sorry, Nepal is going away from China and towards the India. Then strategic move of the Nepal that we have, I put that into being, isko thoda samajhna, try to understand this. That is a part of the strategic move from the Nepal establishment itself. First point, like we have the strategic autonomy, why can't Nepal have a strategic autonomy? Nepal bhi to non-alignment they can put. No, we will not align to India. We will not align to China. Till now, we have been heavily dominated by India. Now we want to um, pursue our own strategic autonomy. So Nepal says no, we are pursuing our own strategic autonomy, right? Then you understood, right? Nepal's own strategic autonomy, not India's. Nepal's strategic autonomy. Next, they play the China card. When they play the China card, क्या होता है? India becomes more. अच्छा ठीक है और ले लो. होता है ना? Nepal has two people to give money to, for example. When Nepal says no, I'm going to this, so India will say no, 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 don't go. We will give you more. So basically, uses the China card as a bargaining chip. Write this word, bargaining chip. So it takes a lot of things from India in that regard. Okay, China card we are playing so that to get the bargaining chip. And balance the overwhelming influence of the India, because obviously India has an overwhelming influence of Nepal, right? It is so known as the, we'll discuss roti beti ka rishta. Sushma Swaraj says roti beti ka rishta. My own relative is being married to someone in Nepal. So roti beti means the people food transfer and the marriage happens over the borders. So these are the, so already a lot of influence is there of the India on the Nepal, right? And this is what Nepal wants to reduce. So India ko kya impact hai? India also says, okay, strategic autonomy, enjoy your strategic autonomy. You are also a sovereign nation. We cannot influence you. But there are some genuine concerns of India. You see, India is a, kya hai? India, Nepal is a very small partner as compared to India. It is a responsibility of India as well to make sure that the Nepal's, in the long run, Nepal should not be impacted by the other country, right? So India has the concern that the strategic weight of China is way more than Nepal. Leave aside India, right? China versus Nepal, compare. China is this there and Nepal is here. So strategic weight of China is very, very, very high as compared to Nepal. And later on, after a few years, if Nepal goes into the China's orbit, right? If the Nepal get influenced by the China, then later on, China can influence the domestic polity of the Nepal. Similarly, what China does for the Pakistan. Getting my point? So this is what the concern is all about, right? China influencing the Nepal domestic policy. Then the security threat. Currently, the borders that are there between India and Nepal are peaceful, open borders. But when China will dominate a lot on the Nepal, then what will happen? This border will also become can be a contentious border. There can be problems on the border as well, which India obviously does not want. Already problems are there in Pakistan, China front. Why another front? And thirdly, dumping of the Chinese goods. Agar Chinese goods come in the Nepal, Nepal is like this only. Nepal. Then from Nepal, they can come to India. So China is also concerned about the economic impact as well. These are the impacts that are there for the Nepal. Okay. Let's go very quickly and summarize the points that we have. So if the question comes that China's involvement into India's neighbor, you have to divide the points into economic, political, and strategic. Here, you cannot only talk about, you have to give priority to Pakistan and Nepal, but you have to talk about the other countries as well. So very quickly, let's finalize it. So economic involvement, China's export-led strategy. China's economy has grown because of the export push. I think Rahul sir must have told you, or he will be teaching you later on. Why the exports are very important for India as well. India is wants to adopt the Chinese model of growth. The Chinese model has such a high growth because of the exports. So China is a top exporter to these nations. Then what they do, because they have a lot of money, they put a lot of debt diplomacy. They give a lot of money, the grant, the loans, $62 billion project Pakistan, right? So this is what they do. They create some strategic infrastructure, very big infrastructure, pools, railways, highways, these things they create. So a lot of economic involvement is there in the Nepal, in the China, in the Indian neighbors, all the neighbors. Then political involvement. One example we have seen, the Nepal's political management. Recently, Mr. Kohli. So China helped to broker an alliance. For example, India, coalition politics come into being. For example, Mahagathbandhan, for example, would have won 2019 election against Modi ji. So imagine China coming to broker peace among the different parties of the Mahagathbandhan. Imagine at that level, political involvement is there of China because obviously of the same ideological orientation. Then Pakistan backing for all action. China backs Pakistan for all, whatever you do, we will help you. Then helping Sri Lanka on the human rights issue. So when Sri Lanka was facing a lot of human rights issue, why they were facing a human rights issue? Anyone? Why they were facing a lot of human rights issue? China? Oh, sorry, Sri Lanka. Very quickly, can anyone tell? Okay, someone has replied. Yeah, Tamil issue. Very good. So Tamilian issue basically, right? So it is basically connected to 1987 crisis, 1987 IPKF, then 2009. Finally, the civil war in Sri Lanka came into finished. If you have not if you don't know about it, please read a little bit, watch a YouTube video, I will say, and then again very briefly I'll mention it when I'll discuss the Sri Lanka issue. Very briefly, which I cannot deliver, I cannot promise you, right? Because it will not be do justice to this course actually, right? So yeah. So third is, everybody knows about Rohingya issue, right? Everybody knows about this Rohingya issue, Myanmar Rohingya issue. So on that issue also, India faces the dilemma. India के पास तो moral dilemma आ जाता है. India always is the moral dilemma. They know that this is not right. Human rights issue. India knows it. India is a democratic country, rule of law and falana dhamaka, human rights issue. Everybody, India adheres to the global norms. But when they see this Rohingya issue, they have the dilemma whether to support it, whether not to support it. If they support the Rohingyas, obviously their relations with the Myanmar will go down. But China does not have any intention. They are themselves the worst human rights abusers. So obviously they will help the Myanmar establishment. They don't have such moral ambiguity that India has. So unko koi tension nahi hai. Then strategic involvement that we have discussed. CPEC, BRI, Belt and Road Organization. A string of pearls you can add. One point I've not written. A string of pearls you can add. Another part of the string of pearls is Hambantota Port. Nepal, China, Trans-Himalayan Multidimensional Connectivity Network project is there. It is also known as the China-Nepal Economic Project, Economic Corridor, I think. Okay, we'll discuss that in detail. So these are the projects name you must be knowing, so that you can put when you put an argument, you put the example. You put an argument, you put an example. Okay, finally, so as a neighbor, so we have discussed at the global level challenges, at the regional level challenges. At the regional level, we have talked about the Nepal and Pakistan and Nepal, and finally at the neighbor level, that means India and China. तो वहां पे क्या है? What is trust deficit is there? Trust नहीं है. Why trust is not there? Obviously, once you are wearing lungi and participating this informal summit, and within 8 months, what you have done at the border, this is not a good done. This is not a good deal, right? Modi ji is not happy. Secondly, encroaching Indian market without reciprocal treatment. That means you give us import of 14% and export only 5%. So this is not done. You don't give access to our IT companies where India has the very good weightage. So all these things are India is concerned with the China on these fronts. Okay, so these are the challenges. So now, if so, one part is done. So challenges at the 3 level. Now you see in international affair, you will see there are one argument only. There are few arguments. गिन के अगर बोले तो 15 to 20 arguments are only there international affairs. Every country almost. ज्यादा होगा तो 30 arguments. But you have to mold every argument into different way. Whatever the questions being asked. For example, if the first type of question being asked that what type of relationship is there, what are the challenges India faced from the China, then you divide into global, regional, local, or the neighbor level. If the question comes complex, multifaceted relationship is there, then you can divide into these parts. So, for example, so what we'll do basically, I think I'll discuss about this four-fold relationship, and then I'll give you this question for homework. Okay, I want you to try this question. Actually, I wanted this question today, but I want you to try this question in your homework. We'll see how can we see your questions. बाद में बता देंगे. You'll try this question and discuss the solution to this in the next session. Okay, this is how we will go about it. So very quickly we'll discuss these 4 C's. Okay, so so India-China multi-faceted relationship. Now you can divide when they say that it is a complex relationship. You can say yes, it is a complex relationship because at one hand we can see cooperation, we can see competition, we can see containment of China, and we can see conflict as well. Okay, and you have to give multiple examples to substantiate your points. That's it. That is what the answers are all about. You need to know what is this framework is all about. If you know this framework, you're done. Then whatever points come in the newspaper or the future, India, China, whatever the situation evolves later on, you can write the points in this dimensions. Okay, let us see one by one. So the first is the India-China cooperation. Okay, so if we talk about India-China cooperation, that means they cooperate with each other. Where do they cooperate? First is economic arena. अब आप बोलोगे, you'll tell me, sir, कहाँ? You're talking about trade wars and all these things. Now you are talking about this cooperation. How is this possible? Array, there is an $80 billion trade between the nations. Obviously, there is a cooperation. We cannot have this much volume of trade with the country if you don't have cooperation. Obviously, you have cooperation. India has received around $2.5 billion of the FDI from China in the 20 years, 2000 to 2020, right? Then China is having, everybody knows China has a lot of investment into our startups. So many startups, Paytm, this Zomato and all this, Ola. China has put a lot of money in. We have a dialogue mechanism for the economic cooperation, joint economic group. So we have a cooperation on the economic front. We have the economic cooperation at the global strategic forum as well. So there are so many groupings, BRICS, SCO, RIC. We'll discuss about these 3 groupings separately. Don't worry. BRICS means which are the countries are in BRICS? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. SCO, there are 8 countries that are there in SCO. India, Pakistan, China, right? Then Russia, then 4 countries from Central Asia. Can you tell me, any student, there are 5 countries in Central Asia. Which of the country of the Central Asia is not in SCO? Very quickly, without seeing the Google. Can anyone tell me? Which is the country from Central Asia, which is not the part of the SCO? Okay, someone has replied. Wonderful. Turkmenistan. Very good, very good, very good. Acha prelims ka preparation, I think. Very good, very good. Let's go. Very quickly. So next is, so they cooperate on the BRICS, SCO, and RIC forum. Next is WTO Doha round, right? They coordinated response. Remember, we have read about South-South cooperation. Very quickly, I have mentioned about it. There, the India voiced the concern of the third world countries, WTO Doha round. That you will read in governance, or I will teach. You will see. Then democratization of international institutions. Now we have read, you'll confuse, sir, abhi aapne bola tha कि China does not believe in democratic international institutions. Yes, it has not agreed to one of the things. But on the other level, for example, World Bank, IMF, China and India are cooperating with each other. Even on the front of the climate change, China is one of the countries which is pouring in a lots and lots of money to for the renewable energy, as compared to USA, which has taken itself out from the Paris Climate Agreement. So at least China is the global leader, you can say. Then one more point, please add one more point: globalization. USA does not believe in globalization now. It believes in America first. हम भी आत्मनिर्भर भारत में हैं, but still we believe in the globalization. China also believe in the globalization. So there also we have a common cooperative front. Then political engagement, yes. Informal summits तो हो ही रहे थे. 2 informal summits happen. So it can happen in the future. मान लो शी जिनपिंग का हार्ट मेल्ट कर गया या मोदी जी का हार्ट मेल्ट कर गया. So they can have the informal summits again. So already we are having it. Meetings at the very multilateral forum, whether they're meeting at BRICS, SCO, or RIC. So they're meeting, obviously. So this is the kind of a political engagement and cooperation. And finally, education and cultural. So some points you have to write for the sake. For example, which is the movie which is being seen in the China the best? Can you name the movie? Amir Khan movie was that there, which was seen in China. A lot of news has come. So many money, so much money he has got from China. So yoga, Bollywood, Buddhist event, historically also we have cooperated with China, right? Yeah, Dangal. Yes, PK and Dangal both. Dangal even better than the PK. Okay, just one second. Oh, yes. So education and culture, you have to write some points. So people to people interactions are also there. Tourist numbers are growing up. Indians going to Africa and Indians going to China and Chinese coming to the India as well. So these are the areas of cooperations as well. Then competition. Competition we have read in the Indian neighborhood, right? We have read about it. Nepal, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Pakistan, Maldives, and the list goes on. A lot of competition is there. In the Indian Ocean region, we will see string of pearls, strategic encirclement of India, challenging India's strategic backyard. What is strategic backyard? India considered Indian Ocean as its strategic backyard. कि हमारा region है, होता ना? कि हमारा इलाका है. This is our इलाका. This is our region. This is our strategic backyard. How can you dominate in our strategic backyard? So India considered Indian Ocean as its strategic backyard. Okay. Then third is Africa and Latin America. So there also the race to resources is there by this keyword, quote unquote, race to resources. ये तो मैंने आज ही बनाया है. I made it today only. So write down this keyword, race to resources is there in both Africa and Latin America. Latin America means South America. वहां पे कि first who will reach? Obviously China has made headwinds both of the places. First पैसा से ही सब कुछ होता है, but India has soft power and all these things. Expanding geopolitical and geo-economic influence in these countries. So there also competition is there between China and India. Getting my point? So the different points you have to write. Next are the conflicts. The conflicts can be seen at the border disputes. So eastern sector, we have seen the conflict at Arunachal Pradesh. For example, yesterday only Xiaomi app was trending on the Twitter. उन्होंने weather app में they have reduced the Arunachal Pradesh from India's map. On the western sector, we have seen the Ladakh area, how many issues were there. There were Al-Begi Road and so many. I have taught a whole session on these in the prelims, in the maps, not here, but somewhere else. So I have discussed that in detail. I'll put very brief examples next time. Then Doklam, Bhutan issue, chicken neck ke paas hai. I have not put the map here. So Doklam in Bhutan. So border disputes are there. Then Chinese activism, again keyword, write this keyword. So Belt and Road Initiative, CPEC, you can say. But now we know the points, right? We can use the same points. River water disputes, non-sharing of the data, Brahmaputra flooding. They don't share the data with the India a lot of times. So that leads to flooding in Brahmaputra. And finally, Chinese technology creating security challenges in India. You must have read about Xiaomi phones or other phones which are banned for the armed forces. because they create security challenges. India has banned the 5G of the Huawei, one of the leading Chinese company. So India said, no, 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 your 5G will not be applicable in India. India said, no, we will develop our own 5G, like that. So their technology is a challenge to India. And finally, containment of China. So whether it be the Indo-Pacific, this we will discuss in detail. Indo-Pacific and the Quad, very, very important. For the past 3 to 4 years, it has been very important. Quad. So Quad basically an informal grouping of the 4 countries. Which are the 4 countries? India, Japan, Australia, and USA. All 4 democracies, right? So that is Quad. So cooperation on the Quad to contain China. Then engagement with Taiwan also. जहाँ पे China की दुखती रग है. China की, where China feels a lot of pain, whether it be Tibet, whether it be Taiwan. Tibet तो बहुत old हो गया है. Tibet is now gone. Think about Taiwan. So some engagement with Taiwan. For example, recently someone did the mischief, some BJP leader in Delhi. What he did, Jinder Singh Bagga, on the Taiwan Independence Day, he put the poster. So Chinese media and Chinese diplomats were very angry. Oh, okay, what you are doing? So engagement with Taiwan, we have to increase. They have not diplomatically recognized Taiwan. Okay. Then the strategic engagement with Australia, Japan, ASEAN, Australia, especially Australia. So Australia will discuss in detail the middle power. So engagement with Australia is very, very important because Australia is a middle power that we have ignored till now. We have engaged with the neighbors. We have engaged with the US and Russia. We've engaged with big groupings such as ASEAN, Central Asia, but we've ignored such as Australia, these middle countries. But we need to engage with them. And lastly, push for democratization of the international institutions. So when these international institutions are democratized, they adhere to the rule of law. Then the countries such as China should also have to adhere to this rule of law. Then they cannot do this South China Sea like thing. So this is how they can contain the China. These are the strategies. So I think both हो गया discuss. I hope you understood. So this is the question. Please write down this question and in your copy and try to answer this question. Write down the question. The recent event showcase India and China relationship has reached an inflection point. What is an inflection point? Inflection point means at a point where the trajectory is going to change. The earlier path will not be continued. Basically, inflection point, this means that only. In this context, discuss the policy areas where the India should focus going forward. Where should India focus going forward? Means whatever the strategies we have for the China till now have been failed. Obviously, दिखता है. It seems China के everything is changed. So what should we do forward going forward? Okay. So I think this can be the question. Please write down the question. I also send the PPT very quickly as well. I'll try to, but write down this question so that you have this question. When you're done with the question, tell me.